All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Out of the Park Developments channel. My name is Alex Murray, also known as. Whoa, I've got audio. Hold on. There we go. Get rid of that. Thank you. As you can tell, a little bit rushed today, but my name is Alex Murray, also known as AZ Axel. I'm the tech support agent for Out of the Park Developments, and today, for episode 2 of Science Saturdays. Yes, depends on how many times we say science this week in terms of how much we have to keep an eye on Magus. We're going to be looking into a Twitter-voted result for our Science Saturday, and the poll that we put up on Twitter had 3 different items that we could have chosen from. And let me go ahead and make sure I have this up on my screen, because I know I'm going to forget how much percentage each one of these had, and I'm going to feel really bad about that. Let me see, where was this? Yeah. There it was. So we had 3 different options to look at today, or at least we had 3 that I had suggested, and some people in the Discord had suggested. And the 3 were, is batting eye important? Basically looking into whether or not a batter's eye is vitally important to the success of a ball player. We also had differences on people who had high stealing and high speed versus high stealing but no speed. Best examples I can think of for that would be someone like a Yadier Molina and a Paul Goldschmidt versus something like a Billy Hamilton or Malik Smith or something like that, where we can take a look and see what the differences are, what the game would do differently depending upon the different players, and just what that would entail. And then the one that got the most amount of votes, and the one that I kind of expected to get the most amount of votes, was, can a 2-pitch starting pitcher be good? And that's something that's kind of been a question for a lot of players, especially for a lot of new players. Increase my microphone a little bit. Hold on 1 second. There, that should be better, I think. What's weird is that it shows as being, like, yellow on my OBS, so I don't want to get into, like, the red zones, but that should definitely be a little bit better for everybody on the stream now. Hopefully it is. Okay, so, yeah, that's a question that a lot of people have been asking, and a lot of people, especially new players, get when they start OOTP. You'll launch into a draft, a first-year player draft, and you see a bunch of these really good, starting pitching prospects. But then when you look into their actual ratings, they're only got 2 pitches. They only have 2 pitches, and it really kind of throws you for a loop sometimes, and it's not good. So we're going to take a deep dive into what that looks like, what that means, and whether or not you guys should actually be even thinking about using 2-pitch starting pitchers comparatively to, well, we could do a couple different tests in terms of whether or not that's good for 3-pitch pitchers or more. Exactly, Coach. The issue is that even though the game could say that a 2-pitch starting pitcher with everything maxed out would be a 5-star starting pitcher, the results you're going to get in OOTP are what matters the most. And if you can't actually get that 3rd pitch to work, or if you don't even have a 3rd pitch, it could very easily derail an entire pitching staff if you don't do that. So let me make sure my game is in full screen this time, because I don't think we're going to be tabbing out this time. So let's go back to full screen. I actually have maximum size font on right now, which I am not used to having. Wait, why is that up on the screen now? Hold on 1 second. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. That's what I'm supposed to do. My apologies about that. And, oh, you guys couldn't see it anyways. Never mind. You guys are good. Let's see. And then take that. There we go. For a second there, I thought I had some information up on the screen that I wasn't supposed to show off. So, glad that I didn't do that. All right. Let me see. Oh, and by the way, hello everybody. Welcome to the channel. Math, Coach, McDavitt, Yordle. Happy to see you all here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Saturday. Also, the difference between no 3rd pitch and a really bad 3rd pitch. Yes, even if you just had a 3rd pitch, but it wasn't that good. Yeah, I have to hide that 100 Connor Joe card. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. It's just, I needed to put away the Slack messages from the devs. We've been in talks about different things, and wanted to make sure that you guys didn't see something you weren't supposed to be privileged to. So just gonna make sure that I don't have that problem. And hello, Bebep. And hello, Sweetness. Welcome to the channel, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I say it like as if it's my channel, but it's not. It's OOTP's, but I hope you guys are having a great Saturday as well. We are looking to do 2 starting pitchers today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? I've gone ahead and already set up a whole entire league for this. The first thing we might actually do today is establish an actual template to use for future testing, because if we keep doing these kinds of testing on Saturdays situations, I'm going to keep making new leagues every single week, and that's just going to take too much time. So what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 different teams, one called the Questionables and one called the Clone Army, and we're basically going to make sure that each and every single team has the same amount of players and the same exact players, and then we'll make a template of that, and then we will save that template and use it for future references. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. So we're going to delete all the players, so everything's been cleared out. We need to change some settings to make sure everything's up to speed. So we're not going to use the scouting system. Don't need to have that. We can keep all reports. Those can still be affected. I don't care about that. Stars is fine. All players is fine. We really don't care about that, to be honest. Yes, math. Yes, they can. It's very, very rare to see that. I wish it was a little more common or a little more human controllable to try to force a starter to get a third pitch if they haven't gotten one, especially if you have somebody like a, I can't really think of anybody who has made the transition from relief pitcher to starter with ease. Most of the time, you go from starting pitcher to relief pitcher because your stamina goes away. I can't think of any off the top of my head that went from relief pitcher to starter. Unless you want to consider Carlos Martinez to be one of them, but he was a starter by default, so, he's kind of an in-betweener right now. I think, no, because all the examples I can think of, Archie Bradley, everyone's gone from starting pitching prospect to relief pitching prospect. No one ever went the other direction from what I can tell. But that would be an interesting question. And the answer to your question, though, is yes, they can develop a third pitch. That's true, Johan Santana. Wasn't Pedro Martinez supposed to be like a relief pitcher? Or was he just not that good until he discovered his curveball? Or changeup. Yes, if you're Darvish and you have like 58 pitches, absolutely. Also up there on that list is Zack Greinke. Zack Greinke has tons of pitches. Like, he has registered like 7 or 8 pitches that he throws. A couple that he's only thrown like 6 or 7 times in his career. But still, it's registered as him being thrown like a cutter, slider, slow change or slow curve, which is basically his eephus pitch, which we don't have in our game somehow. We don't have eephus. I think it's because eephus is such a weird defined pitch. You really can't define an eephus pitch. It's more like it's like a really, really enhanced curveball / changeup, and everyone throws it differently, so it's really not a set-in-stone pitch, so I understand why they wouldn't do that, but still. But there's a lot of things that pitchers will throw that are not usual pitches. They're actually like custom-made pitches just for you, just for that one player. No amateur draft, please. So I'm just going through and making sure all of our settings are turned off because we don't want anything to be affected. No rainouts, please. No spring training. No playoffs. Don't need that. We're good on all that. I don't want to adjust anything. So those are all fine. Players look good. We need to turn these off, though. I don't want anyone being added to the league if we simulate any time. I don't want that happening. That looks good. I think that's all fine. Good. Good. Okay, so we need to say, yes, default, good. So they won't get hooked too early if we do this test. Okay, looks good, yes. No storylines, don't need those. And that looks good. I think we're all set. Okay, so again, today's test is going to be all about whether or not a starting pitcher who has 2 pitches can actually be anywhere close to serviceable. So let's go ahead and let me see. I need to fill up a team. So what I actually really wanted to do was make clones of Joe Unknowns and make them all average. But I don't know if I want to do that now. I don't think I want to. I think I'm just going to make a whole bunch of players and we'll just go from there. So let's just do that. Let's just go ahead and do that. Clone all the players. Then we need to act as, so instead of clone armies, as the questionables. Questionables get all the players as well. So we'll go to transactions, go right to here and sign them all for the questionables. And now everyone has the exact same team. All right. So everybody has the exact same players on both sides. If we simulate an entire season, there might be like 1 or 2 game difference. I don't know. It depends on kind of how the simulation goes at this point. We also need to double check strategies. That's true. I need to clear the strategies. Make sure that both teams have got no strategies, please. Good. They're both blanked. None of them have got managers, so that's good too. And then we also need to make sure that the park factors are set to be 0. So basically 1.00. We need them all to be 1.0. 1.0. There we go. And then 1.0 and 1.0. There we go. So the teams will be the exact same. Nothing will be different. And we want to see what happens in terms of these two different organizations when we get them to be exactly the same thing. So pretty much the exact same. Just the setup stuff. There we go. Awesome. All right. Let's do this. So strategies are set back to 0 defaults. So no one has any strategies. Nobody has any coaching staffs. Well, they have some coaching staff, but they're not going to have any effect on the players. In fact, we could just go into here and be like, yeah, you can just be fired. You can be fired. And you can be fired. Everyone gets fired. There's no issues with injuries or anything like that, so there's no reason to have anybody on your coaching staff. So let's get rid of all you guys. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Bye, bye, bye. Get out of here. All right. And then we need to make a template of this game so we can use this for future references. So we're going to go up to available, say this game is a template, and this will be our Science Saturday template. If I can spell. Yeah, it fits. Nice. All right, so our Science Saturday template has been built, which means now we can get started. So we wanted to take a look and see what happens if pitchers who have more than 3 pitches. Let me see. So how exactly do I want to do this now? How exactly would be the best way to test this out so that we can get a good feel for whether or not somebody... Because here's the dealio. If we take the exact same pitcher and remove a couple of pitches, of course he's going to be worse. It's not going to be that, you know... It's going to be very easy to tell he's not going to be that good because he's going to have less good pitches. So we need to basically compare somebody who is a top-tier ace to somebody who only has 2 pitches, but is also a top-tier ace, and see what the results look like for those 2 different organizations and those 2 pitchers. I think that's what we want to do. Because we want to make sure that the test... Because it's going to be all about whether or not... How many pitches do we want to... I guess it's a good question for you guys in chat. How many pitches do we want to test out in terms of... do we want to have it be just a 2 versus a 3? Do we want to have it be 2 versus 4? We could even do something where we test 3 versus 4, 3 versus 5, to see if, having more pitches results in better ability versus having less pitches. Do you want to sign rookies who have more pitches versus less, even if it's, not as good quality on those pitches? Would that be better still? What did I want to do here? I wanted to change these so I can see what it all looks like. Because right now we have a 77 overall pitcher and a 59 overall pitcher on both sides, and a 31, 22, and a 20, which, in all honesty, the only ones that really matter is going to be the 77 and the 59. So what we want to do... Oh, here's a perfect example already. So Joe Sanchez is only a 2-pitch pitcher. Now, the problem, again, is going to be that if we change the other version of Jose Sanchez, the problem is that he's definitely going to be better because he's going to have another pitch. So we need to keep his stuff at a 76, but increase his pitch count, his types of pitches to 3. So we need to do some documentation of this. So we'll pick up on Jose Sanchez to be our test dummy. And hello, Pockets. How is your evening going so far? Or afternoon, sorry. How's your afternoon going so far on this Saturday? Hope you're having a good day so far. So 59 overall, over 59 overall. His stuff is 76 over 76. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that if we take away some of the cutter and give him a third pitch, we can compare both of the Jose Sanchez's. We could also do that as well, Yordle. I think what we want to do is we want to keep the stuff rating to be the same. Because at this point, what we basically want to do is you want to see what happens when we start to tinker with a pitcher and add pitches, but keep their stuff at the same level. Because there's going to be a little bit of influence with movement for pitches like a curveball and a sinker pitch. But the real question is going to be how much does a 2-pitch pitcher compare to the similarly, stuff rated and overall rated 3-pitch pitcher? Is it that much of a leap that you would prefer to take the same rating but 3 pitches versus the same rating but 2 pitches? That's what we're trying to figure out. So let's change this one right here. So the other one is the same. It's still got the cutter at 250 and the curveball at 110. Yeah, it might not be the best one because he's got a breaking ball. So what if we decided instead to do a cutter and a fastball? So what if we changed it? We got to be careful about sinkers because actually sinkers have the most amount of effect from movement. Curveballs and sinkers are the 2 most affected pitches by movement. So we want to get away from that. I don't even remember what I discovered a long time ago. I have pictures of it. I was testing out Dylan Bundy when he had high movement versus low movement. And I might have... Hold on, let me see if I can do this without showing off too much stuff. Let me see if I can show off those pictures really fast. This is really bad. I'm not doing this the way I should be doing this, but oh well. Let's see. Profile. I need my screenshots. This would have been OTP. Oh gosh, what would this have been? This would have been... Oh my gosh, all of my screenshots. Would this have been 19 or 17? I had done a test a long time ago where I did work with 2 different starting pitchers. I don't have any screenshots of 17. Really? Really? I don't have anything of 17? Nope, I don't have them. Nabbit. I thought I had pictures of that. Damn it. I'm sorry, guys. I don't see them, unfortunately. But I did. I did a long time ago. I had not official. I had tested out what happens when a pitcher has high movement versus no movement in terms of being able to see what that affects to their stuff and their ability on their pitches, especially breaking pitches. So let me go ahead and make these changes. We've got fastball and cutter instead. So we got to change the other person as well on the other team. So that's going to be 110 on the other side. So we go right back to Jose Sanchez, who has now changed skin color, which is very weird. We'll make that 110 each. Okay, there we go. So we have both of the Sanchez's are now ranked. Oh, they actually went up in value. They're now at 62 overall. That's interesting. So we have 62 and 62 Jose Sanchez on both sides. So now we can work at getting their differences. So we want to take a cutter from one of them. What if we what is the third pitch we should add? Changeup? If we took away, say, 140, from the changeup. The problem is that the stuff is going to go... Oh, it goes down. His overall goes up because he has 3 pitches now. His stuff goes down, though. So I don't think it's going to be possible to keep the stuff rating the same, but keep the overall rating from changing. I don't think that's going to be possible, unfortunately. So that might not be an option for us to test out. But we could try to make the stuff rating the same, and then just not care about the overall. Because in the end, the overall is going to be... It's going to be a bigger summary attempt at the player. But in all honesty, what we're trying to figure out is what happens when the stuff is the same, but he has 3 pitches versus 2. So we need to get his stuff up to 76, supposedly. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. Yeah, we added a breaking ball. We added the changeup. That's technically a breaking ball, but maybe we'll do a curveball instead. Maybe a curveball is better for his stuff. That makes his stuff 146, which makes it a 61. Not really. We might care what a 2-pitch pitcher can do even with elite stuff. That is true. We could just push them all up to the maximum. But at that point, if you have 3 pitches at maximum versus 2 pitches at maximum, it's pretty easy to tell that you're going to be better with 3 pitches than with 2. I mean, that's going to be pretty easy. Let me think. How do we want to go about doing this? Changes more run than a curve, plus that's like a 2-seam sinker. Oh, okay. Let me think. How do we want to go about doing this now is the question. Do we want to... The science gets tricky when we have to make stuff up on the fly. I mean, we could give him something like a forkball. That might get his stuff up immensely. 146 still? Is it always going to be... Huh. It might not go much higher because the ratings are so low. Huh. That's what we're thinking about doing math. What we might end up doing is just giving one pitcher, like, topped out pitches. Yeah, let's just do it that way. Let's give Jose Sanchez 150, 150. Let's give him a cutter at 150 and 150. And then we'll give him a curveball at 150 and 150. And then we'll take away the forkball. So that'll give him 161, which is a 68 stuff pitcher. So he's 68 stuff over 68. He's an 80 overall pitcher, but that's mostly because our league is so poor that he's going to be amazing. But what happens, so I want to just get a good overall view of this guy. So 68, 68, 68, 68, 61, 61. His pitches are 85 over 85 for a fastball, 79 over 79 for his cutter, and a 79 over 79 curveball. Okay. This is looking pretty interesting. And that is an 80 over 80 rating overall, so that's cool. Now, looking at this pitcher right now, a lot of people would definitely draft this kid right here. Now, this is definitely not a legendary player, though. Like, compared to some of the pitchers that you see in modern OOTP starts, this is actually pretty, it's good, but it's pretty average. He's pretty average. So, again, that overall is going to be a little bit inflated because of the fact that we only have 2 teams and not a lot of good pitchers in the organization. So, again, keep that in mind. He's not going to be as good. So, let's give this... So, 250 is the max. So, he already has a max cutter. So, we're going to give him a max fastball, which is interesting how his cutter is 250, but it's only 99 over 99 in the rating system. Interesting. So, everything else is the same. So what we've done in comparison is we have 100 over 100 stuff instead of 68 over 68, which is interesting. And then 69 movement, supposedly. I don't know why we have 69 movement. And then 62 control. Okay, I need to double check this now. I think you keep his 2 pitches like the other 3 guys with 3. Do you want to have the same ratings, but just 2 pitches instead of 3? Is that what you're saying? You keep his 2 pitches like the other guys with 3. The issue is that we need to give this guy some leverage to be able to say that he would be... the argument is whether or not a really good, two-pitch pitcher could make it as a starter. If this guy was on the draft right now in your league, in your world, would you draft this guy and try to force him to be a starter? I know a lot of you guys are going to go, no, because he doesn't have 3 pitches. But when he has this many good 2 pitches, he's this dominant, and he's got really good stamina, would you still think about it? I think that's the argument. The argument is, how important is that 3rd pitch on this guy right here? How important is that 3rd pitch? What kind of results would we see from this guy compared to this Jose Sanchez? So if you saw, and in fact, we could probably drop down. Yeah, see, some people would take that chance. Some people would be like, I would try it because he actually might do good enough. Can we push the bar? Basically, can we push the bar enough that it's actually a viable option? Like, let's try this instead. Let's try this. So if it instead was a 75... Oop, I just broke my piece of paper. 69... No, I'm not going to giggity on that. And 59 on the curveball. That makes the movement 68. We still have the 68, 61. Unfortunately, that is not how stamina works when it comes to starting pitchers, coach. The issue is that even if you have 100 stamina, if you are listed as a starting pitcher and you put them into the bullpen, they will still have to get days off. The issue is that, well, no, that's if you try to put a starting pitcher in PT mode. I'm sorry. That might be a bit different. The issue is that there is a minimal amount of days off a pitcher has to get before they can be coming back into a game in the future. There is a minimum amount. So there's always a period of time that you have to wait before they can come back. So they wouldn't be able to come back every single night, even if they had 100 stamina out of 100. So that unfortunately will not affect the result. If you listed him as a closer, he still has to do a certain time off, but it's not as much, from what I've understood. So unfortunately, you'd be wasting a bunch of that stamina, because even though he could be like a 3-inning closer, you could basically have a backwards rotation, where you would have like a starter, and then the guy would come in and pitch like 8 innings and close your game for you, but he'd get the win at that point. The most you could probably do would be a 4-inning save. Is that what it takes to get a win? 5 innings pitched? Isn't it 5 innings pitched, or is it 6 now? I can't remember. I think it's 5 though. But you could have a really long stamina closer come in and do multiple innings because he could do that. Again, the problem would be though he would need certain amount of time off. 5. Thank you. He'd still need time off before he'd be able to come into the next game, so it would still be probably a day or 2 before you could use him again. That's a great idea, Math. If this guy can't start, maybe you go with an opener, because if he could be a follower, even if you wanted to use him as a follower, he has the stuff to be able to do that, and then you can still put him as a relief pitcher, and he'd probably be just fine for that. Okay, so we changed the Jose on the right, and he's now a 55 over 55 stuff. So let's compare these two. And in fact, let's just go ahead and get rid of the overall ratings. Hold on. None displayed, please. None displayed. Don't need to see that. If you were looking at these two pictures and you didn't see the overalls, and you have the person on the left who has absolutely dominant stuff, I know your first reaction is going to be to put him in the bullpen. But would you try him as a starter when you find out that his stamina is 74? That is the question. That's basically the question that we're going to try. So let's see what happens when we actually do that. And let's go ahead and ask. Let's ask for stuff on both sides. Let me see if I can ask. Nope, I gotta make this manual change. Hold on a second. Eddie needs to be 3rd. I'm guessing Mayer is 4th and Stevenson is 5th. Good. So now there's no difference on any of those. They don't have a pitch count on Mayer. Let's make sure that works correctly. For more than one trip through the order, though, we could do that, yes. We could go into his set strategy and basically tell the CPU to use him as long as possible. Let's do that. There. Now he will be hooked as slowly as possible. And there are no team settings, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's go back to the clone army now and make sure that they get their update to Sanchez. So let's do that for this Sanchez as well. Slow and slow. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and do a quick test of this, shall we? Let's do just 2 seasons. Just 2. We want to just kind of get a good little base point. We want to see if it actually works. So, what we're looking for is which of the Sanchez's does better. Okay, so innings pitched looks pretty similar. Hits against looks pretty similar. Walks looks pretty similar. Strikeouts are not similar. You're talking about a 35 strikeout difference for 120 to 140 innings pitched. One person had a 3.81 ERA and one person had a 3.77 ERA. Now, this is the Sanchez that has 3 pitches versus the Sanchez that only has 2. No, this is the one that has 3 pitches. This is the one that has 2. So, I think that's a pretty interesting little result. So the pitcher that only has 2 pitches, but they're dominant, had a better win and loss record, a better ERA, more innings pitched, and more strikeouts. He had a couple more walks, but technically, this guy won. He won big time. So, yeah. Like, to the drum of a 14-game difference? I mean, sure, there's, like, some, minor details. Horton basically goes 6-7 versus 7-6. There's some minor details in the hits against and a little bit of strikeout difference. Maybe he has one bad outing. Wilkerson is pretty much the same. Maybe he lost or won some games. A little bit different on the ERA, it looks like. Garcia had a different closing role, though. And I'm hoping that we don't have differences on that guy. 53, 55. Nope, he's the exact same pitcher. So, yeah. So with a 2-season simulation, Jose Sanchez with only 2 pitches out-dueled Jose Sanchez with 3 pitches. Now, again, that's a pretty average pitcher right there, and this is a pretty dominant pitcher, but their movement and control is the same. It's just a change in stuff. That's literally all we changed, was their stuff rating. So that's interesting. He also went further into games. You are correct, Math. He went further into ball games. He dominated more. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and simulate a season because I want to see what this looks like with actual statistics. So let's save this, the quick start, really fast. So this is going to be 2-pitch starter test. And we'll save that so I have that as a backup. And then we'll go all the way to the season end. And we'll see what happens with an actual simulation, and then we'll do more tests. So that's interesting. I didn't expect to see a starting pitcher with 2 pitches. I mean, it makes sense. The other Jose Sanchez is not that good. Comparatively, he's not that good. If we increase his abilities, his stuff, it would be better. It would definitely be better. Okay, that looks a bit more average right there. That turned out a whole lot more average. However, how did they perform comparatively? They didn't start Jose Sanchez. Why are they not starting Jose Sanchez? Why did they not start Jose Sanchez? He merged into their closer position. Oh, good grief. Why? All right, hold on. Now we got to restart the quick start. Because the AI came in. I forgot to set it so that it wouldn't make changes. Hold on. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. And that is why we do quick starts. Because we can very quickly come right back into this. Play in commissioner mode. That's just fine. Go back into here, go to here, go to here, and say no roster changes. None of them. There we go. Now Juan Garcia is going to be the closer. And that should do it for both sides. Awesome. All right. Now we should be okay to simulate a season and see what happens. I was about to say, because that was a very even-Steven season right about there. Because he's a closer. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, about that. Okay. Oh, my. Oh, my, indeed. The fact that is an even Steven tells me he has minimal value even as an elite closer, though. Yeah, I would assume that basically him becoming a closer didn't affect the outcome of a season as much as it is going to affect what he does here in this season. Because, oh my gosh, did he completely demolish this season. Let me see how good. Just how good was this guy? Nope, I want the other one. Clone Army, please. Okay. So, comparatively, for a 20-game season, started season, you're still looking at about a 20... no, this will be about a 10-inning difference this time. More hits given up. Less runs. Less 3 versus, 6? So, Jose Sanchez had a couple more unearned runs given up. But the walks, guys. Look at the walks and the strikeouts. Oh, my gosh. And hello, Matron. Hi. How are you doing? We are looking at a difference between whether or not a starting pitcher with 2 pitches is better than a starting pitcher with 3. And we're getting conflicting results with what we thought was the result we were expecting to find. The pitcher with 2 pitches is actually getting better results. Although you are correct, that WAR is a little bit close for my personal opinion. Now, at the same time, though, Matt, these are very close results. The BABIP is the same. The batting average is the same. It's just a little more on the walks. I mean, here's the dealio. You have 2 different results. The walks are 48 to 28. So there's 20 more walks for Jose Sanchez, which is interesting because they have pretty much the exact same control. But then the homers, there are 13 home runs for Jose Sanchez versus 6. That's half. So 3 pitches might be more of an indication of how well they will get away from bad pitching situations. So we obviously can agree that more dominant pitches results in less walks and probably more strikeouts. And it might be a sample size image. You're correct. It might be a sample size image. We'll be definitely doing some more simulations to see if we can figure out if this is actually the truth. But here's what I'm assuming is going to be our hypothesis. I think our theory and hypothesis is that with 2 pitches, you will dominate more, but you will give up more home runs. Because it only makes sense that as people only have to look for 2 different pitches, sluggers can sit on the fastball and hit the fastball a lot easier. And if they get a bunch of sliders and other stuff, they probably will just ground out or strike out. But if they get the pitch they want, it's much more likely that they're going to do something with it, which is why the walks per 9 innings is so much different. And that might be because Jose Sanchez doesn't have as many good pitches. His pitches aren't good enough to actually get people out, so they take them. And then that just makes the control so much more harsh for him to be able to dominate with. Because if his control isn't sharp and his pitches aren't sharp, people lay off bad pitches and take more walks. That's what I'm assuming is the case. But you are right. The WAR is only 0.4 away from each other. That R WAR is a little bit different, though. And that's a bit weird. This is the first variation we have done, Matron. We're just getting started. We literally just got started. Well, we got started 45 minutes ago, but we got some introductions out of the way and set up the entire league and got it all started. So this is our first real simulation. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and actually go ahead and finish that season. So in the end, the Clone Army had a 24-game difference with just that one pitcher. Now, this is just one simulation. Anything can happen. The simulation goes random sometimes, so you got to be careful with looking at one simulation. So why don't we go ahead and do 50? Let's do 50. Let's not include the season stats and standings. If I can get up to the regular season again. Hold on 1 second. I hope that doesn't change some stuff now. The CPU's not allowed to make any changes, so nothing should have changed. But you know what, actually? Let's just launch the quick start again. What setting did I not have? I didn't have the CPU control. Okay, so we got to make that change again, just so we don't have that get changed on us, so Sanchez doesn't become a closer again. So we'll do that real fast. Launch that. Go back into here. Not allow roster changes. Okay, I want to see what happens when we do a 50 season simulation. And then probably 100 after that. And hello, Dean. Welcome to the channel, mate. Hope your afternoon is going well on this really nice and gorgeous Saturday. I wish I was outside, but unfortunately, quarantine. Not for me, but just for the rest of the world. The rest of the world gets quarantined from me. Which means we get to be science nerds in the office. That's what gets to happen now. Alright, so we're going to just go ahead and predict 50 iterations of the season, which is 100 games. And Magus made it! He's here for the science! Oh, rainy and 50 degrees. Man, to be honest, I would love it to be 50 degrees and raining here because I'd have all the windows open. I'd have the rain, sounds of the rain coming in through the windows. The wife would love that. The cat would hate it, though. So that's probably a good thing. She probably would start tearing up our furniture. So maybe it's a good thing we don't have it be rainy and 50 degrees here. Yeah. That might be a good idea. Anywho. So we need to think of other ways we can test out this 2-pitch starting pitcher versus a 3-pitch starting pitcher. Because in the end, this is actually going to be interesting to see if this works. And I know we have a really, really small sample size. Really, really small sample size here. But that was actually working. Like, conceivably, it was working. Jose Sanchez was the most dominant starting pitcher in the league. That's what I'm thinking, Math, is we might have to throw Sanchez against good MLB offenses. Against this mediocre team. We could just pick the Marlins. We could put him on the Orioles. That's true. We could take an Orioles pitcher and do all this work as well on that and see whether or not that actually would actually work. Would that be... So the better question would be if all of the Orioles starting pitchers lost enough pitches to get down to 2, but they had all of those ratings put into the pitchers with 2 pitches, would that actually make them a better organization than before? All right, so you're talking about 7-8 versus 9-6, a 4.15 ERA versus a 3.50 ERA. Again, you're talking about, only a minimal 5-inning pitch difference this time. A little bit more hits given up for the 3-pitch Sanchez, and a little bit less strikeouts. That ERA is killer, though. The walks are about the same. So once you start getting into the 50 simulation range, that difference is starting to shrink a little bit. But it's still impressive to think that a 2-pitch starting pitcher can mount up any kind of an ability to match a 3-pitch pitcher, even when they're pretty average like this. That's still pretty good. That might be tricky, since having one of these starting pitchers is very different than having a full rotation of them in terms of bullpen usage. If you guys can dominate for 5 innings, even in the MLB, having a full rotation of that will kill your bullpen. Yeah, it would kill your bullpen, but at the same time, we're seeing that if they have high enough stamina as a 2-pitch pitcher, they don't really go any less. I don't think they go any less in terms of innings pitched. And the results from this are looking pretty positive to say use them. Switch that cutter to a change, see what happens? Sure, let's change the cutter to a, what did you say you wanted to do it? To a curve? No, changeup. 250 on the changeup. Should we do that for both pitchers? I would assume so. Oh, on the 3-pitch guy. Okay, hold on. Now I gotta go back and change it on the 2-pitch guy. Cutter 250. And that was just, we did cutter and fastball so that way the movement wouldn't be affected. And the movement wouldn't affect him that much. Why are the lineups off? That was weird. Just the lineups. Nothing else. Just the lineups. So we took the cutter off. We made it into a changeup. Yeah, most starters are going to have, well, I've seen that most starters have sliders. Changeup's not as easy to find. A slider, curveball, fastball pitcher is what you're normally going to see. But yes, changeup is on the mix of that as well. So yeah, that's a good example to try out. Sure. So that brings his stuff down, because a changeup at 100 is not good. Ooh, we should try a knuckleballer, a knuckle curveballer. That would be a great idea. Oh, that would be really cool to see how those kids do against real MLB batters. We may try that next. Okay, so this is a changeup version. So he's got 75, 59. And originally he had a 59 overall. What was it? Curveball? No, cutter. He had a 69 overall cutter. That got changed to a 51 overall changeup. So it got worse. It got worse. Screwballers. Oh my gosh. We could... yeah, a 1-pitch knuckleballer? I don't even know. I don't even know if that would actually... I mean, that's a good test. That would actually be a really good test. Oops, sorry. I'm going to do just 25 so it goes a little bit faster, though. Because I think we need to go ahead and go back to a real Major League MLB setup and see what would happen for a team like the Orioles. Test them with the default, test them with some other changes, and see what would happen. Because, yeah, that would be interesting. So, what would our setup be for a 1-pitch knuckleballer? What would we do? What would be our deciding factor about that? Would that be a 250 knuckleball and nothing else? Would he need full movement? I would assume we'd have to do 250 movement, aka 100 movement, and then probably 250 control. Make him just literally like the epitome of, like, he knows how to throw a knuckleball like a god and nothing else. So that would be a knuckleball pitcher. That would be interesting. Oh no, I wouldn't even throw in a weak fastball. I would just give him the 1 pitch and see how it happens. What happens when all you can throw is the knuckleball, but the knuckleball is like unhittable? Do you still dominate? Like the knuckleball is basically like 5 different pitches in one, and it goes as slow as a curveball. It sinks, it slides, it does everything it's supposed to. Okay, so we're still seeing ERA differences. Innings are the same. Hits against are reduced. The walks are about the same, but those strikeouts are just so much different. Those K per 9 inning ratios are just so different. 100 stamina too? Okay, yeah, sure. So basically everything is maxed, but he only has 1 pitch. Look at the ratings of Charlie Hugh. I think that's basically what Charlie Hugh was, right? Yeah, and Wakefield's ratings. Okay, so I think we're going to make the assumption that if you have a pitcher with 3, I would say average pitches, he won't do as well. He'll be comparative to a pitcher that has only 2 pitches, but they're top tier. I think our assumption is that if you find somebody, if you draft the person on the left, he will get you similar results to the person on the right. Now, this is a very, very, very hard person to find on the left, okay? You're probably not going to find somebody who throws 98 to 100 who has a max fastball, max cutter, okay? I don't think you're going to find that. Just going to throw that out there. I don't think you're going to find that. And if you do, send me screenshots. Because I only know of a couple pitchers who are relief pitchers who could actually pull that off. Plus, you also need to have the guy with like 74 stamina. You know, it has to be a high enough stamina that it's not 50 and borderline starter. This needs to be an actual starter that's in your draft who was created with amazing stuff and high stamina, but just doesn't have a third pitch. So getting all of this to match up correctly is going to be the hardest part about this Science Saturday, is that the ability to just get all of these results is going to be really tough to find out. So let's go ahead and exactly, if Mariano Rivera had stamina, would he have been a good starting pitcher with only his 2 pitches? That's what we're basically trying to figure out. And I think our answer is, yeah. I think he would have been okay. I don't think that, I think that you should be very picky about who you think about using with 2 pitches only. I think they have to be absolutely dominant. They would have to be so good that, you know, they have to have good control. They have to have good movement, and they have to have dominant stuff. To the point where you're literally just hoping and praying that they develop a third pitch that's just barely adequate. Yes, I actually do know that, Mr. Rose. He actually came up as a starting pitcher, but he just couldn't do that. I don't know. I read the book. I read his book a little bit to dive into that, and it was really cool. But not a lot of people, I think, know that he actually came up through the minor league system of the Yankees as a supposed starting pitcher. But yeah, he did. So, where was I? My train of thought just got derailed, but that's okay. I think the problem that a lot of people are going to have is that they're going to find pitchers, especially a lot of relief pitchers. For example, the Texas Rangers have got a couple. I don't remember if he started games in the majors. He might have his first season, but I know they very quickly just put him in the bullpen, and he blossomed after he got there. So I don't remember. I think he might have been a starter for like the first season. But I'd have to look that up now. I don't remember. And I should know that, but I don't. So again, I think the problem is that a lot of people who find these really good 2-pitch, high stamina pitchers, most of those people are going to have one of either movement or control be really, really poor. Okay, that's what I've always found, is that someone who has high stuff like this normally has really bad control. So the problem is that I think a lot of people aren't going to find this kind of control from a quote-unquote relief pitcher who has really good stuff but has good stamina somehow. So let's do something different. Let's go ahead and create a World League. And we're going to do one that's a default standard league, basically. And we're going to change one of the Orioles pitchers and figure out what we can do about that. And I need to go into advanced mode for a second so I can make sure that we have everything ready to go the way we want it to go. No trading, no Rule 5 draft, please. No amateur draft, nothing of that kind, please. Finances are disabled. No draft. No rainouts, please. No spring training. And no all-star game. And no playoffs. That's good. That's okay. We need to disable player creation. If we simulate some seasons, we have to do it that way. I don't want a live start, but thank you very much. Okay. That should be just fine. I need to say don't have injuries, don't have suspensions, do not use the morale system or the chemistry system, no personality ratings, please, disable player development. Would it matter if the second pitch wasn't a cutter? I don't think it would. The whole entire test was whether or not a pitcher with 2 dominant pitches would be able to compete with a pitcher that has 3 or more. That's, maybe more so average, but still decent for a starting pitcher. So we're not trying to, do too much in terms of, if I can get my train of thought around on this. We're not so much caring about whether or not the pitcher with only 2 pitches has, 2 poor pitches or good pitches. It doesn't really matter which type of pitch they have. We're only looking at pitchers that have 2 pitches, but those 2 pitches are dominant, to the point where you would really, really wish that they could be a starter because they have decent enough stamina to account for those 2 pitches that are good. Like the best 2 pitcher would be a cutter sinker. Yes. You can save all these settings in a template, actually, Jake. You can. If you go up to actions, I can... Oh, no, not on that page. I need to go to... Where is my... Here. Yeah, advanced. If you go to advanced, you can save it as a template. I'm probably going to save this. Yeah. So that way I can use this in future times as well. I just want to make sure I've got everything set up the way I want it to before I hit that button. Probably going to just do this. Autosave once a year. We're not going to do any of these. None. I wish it didn't do that, but it does for some reason, because it has to refresh to show a new situation. None, and none, and done. Awesome. There we go. Let me see. I'm missing out on chat here for a second. Hold on. So yeah, I think the problem is that you're going to be able to even think about having somebody who only has 2 pitches be a starter. They have to be lights out in terms of their stuff. They have to have good stamina, and they really have to have adequate to above average control and movement. They have to be so good that the only thing they're missing is that third pitch. We did do that last week, but that was for a custom game. We're trying to make an MLB one now. So I didn't make an MLB template because I didn't think I would actually be using a real MLB setup. I thought we would just be using our custom little create game world instead of this. So let's go ahead and make a template of this, and we'll call this our MLB testing grounds. There we go. So we'll save that, and we'll go ahead and start this up. Okay, so our test for this time, we're going to test. We need to do a test of one pitcher against the rest of the league, and what happens if we were to take that pitcher and convert them from a 3 or more pitch pitcher to a 2 pitch pitcher, right? And then we're going to see if that makes it a more positive situation. If we took all of their... So we need to find a good enough pitcher that they're going to be average, which basically means we need to take John Lester. That's a shout out to anybody who's watched the most average baseball player video. Or is it most average hitter or pitcher? I think it was most average pitcher in baseball. Yeah, John Lester was considered the most average pitcher in baseball. By someone's report, at least. So I think we'll take him. I think we'll take Lester, and we'll see what happens with him. So we got to let this go through everything, of course, and do all of its work. So bear with me for a second. So, sorry, I'm just trying to get my head around why... What would be the reasoning behind why this would actually work? Because with 2 dominant pitches, I mean, yeah, speaking of not holding runners, it's going to be John Lester. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You asked a question. Does the OTP simulation care about like the fact that basically the pitcher doesn't have any off-speed breaking pitches? Does that matter? Um, I don't think it does. I think there's only categorically two fastballs in the system. I think the game considers sinkers to be a off-speed pitch. I think. I I don't remember. I mean, you could conceivably have a starting pitcher with fastball, cutter, and sinker, and that might be all considered fastball pitches. Um, but I don't think the game has any kind of a. I don't think the game really has as much of a, like, oh, wow, this pitch was 20 miles per hour slower than your other pitch. That means it's that much better. I think that literally just comes into play with the stuff of the pitch. So it isn't so much that you have the pitch, it's how good is the pitch. So sinker balls, are going to be somewhat still fast, but they move like a breaking pitch. So when you have a pitch that can sink and move, but it's somewhat close to the same speed as a fastball, that's actually just as hard to hit as a 15, even 10 mile an hour slower curveball or breaking pitch, changeup. So I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. I'm sorry, Cubbies. So we think that John Lester is a good example to use. In real life, it would matter. Yes. I don't think I don't think. Hold on. The game does care about the difference between 2 and 3 pitch. I believe the game has. Let me think. I believe the only difference we've noticed so far is that the home run rate of a 2-pitch starter is about twice as bad as a 3-pitch starter. From our first testings, that's what happened. Was that basically when you took away that third or more pitches, and you made it just into 2. Like, for example, we're going to take away Lester's curveball and changeup in a second here, and we're going to give him just fastball and cutter, which means that might be a topped-out fastball and cutter. The question's going to be, if we simulate a season right now, in fact, I'll simulate it really quickly to see how fast this goes. If we do 20 simulations, and I need to make sure I go back into settings and make sure stuff is actually fixed up first. So hold on 1 second. Storylines, no. I need to make sure that player development is turned on. Good. I need teams to not allow roster changes. Thank you very much. Because we can do a baseline with the MLB season. So we'll do just 10 simulations. Just 10. I'm not going to do more than 10. Because hopefully that won't take us too long to do 10. And of course it will. Wow, that takes forever. I might have to get rid of some of the minor leagues then. I wonder if I can speed that up somehow. Let me think. How can I speed that up? Generating predictions has been really, really slow, and I don't know why. Is that because I have the game installed? I might have the core game files installed on a different part of my hard drive, which might be why that's happening. But the idea is that we want to test and see what happens when John Lester has a normal season, which we're not going to see his normal season because he's not going to be listed. Hold on. Let me think about this. How do I want to do this now? How do I want to do this so I can still see John Lester's results? Now we gotta think about this for a second. How are we going to simulate this? I might take away the American League and just have Lester pitch against the National League. Because that would save us a whole lot of time. We might even just do the National League Central. Just to get a basis of the National League Central, because that's a pretty good division. That wouldn't be too bad. And that would be doable. I think that would be doable, at least. I'm not sure though. Because we want more. We want to try to use realistic approaches to our testing now. We want to be able to see if this is actually something that is feasible in an MLB season. But I can't sit here for 20 minutes waiting for a simulation to end. So let's try something else. Let me go back to here for a second. I'm going to close my game out really fast because it's taking too long. That's going to take too long. I might even check and see where I've got this thing installed right now. It's not on a normal hard drive, right? That's on my solid state right now, right? Isn't it? Yeah, that's on the S drive. Why is it on the that should be on the solid state. Okay. Oh yeah, we gotta play God a little bit. Come on. That's what Science Saturday is all about. We literally are designed to, like, take this game apart and then figure out what works and what doesn't work. So let's do a new standard game. Or actually, no, I can do the not the quick start, the template. So let's go back to here. We want to go to advanced mode, import the template, MLB testing grounds. Load that back up real fast. So I'm going to, we're going to do some changes. We're going to go in and do some changes after we get started here, of course. So that's all good to go still. Awesome. Good, good, good. That looks fine. Okay. So, can I delete these really fast? Yes. Thank you. So delete everything but the major leagues. I wish it wouldn't select the major leagues after every single time I delete it. I wish it would go back up the list in order, but oh well. There's gotta be like a plus and minus button. I wish there was a plus and minus button over here so I could just like click and delete stuff immediately. That would actually be really cool too. But what we can do is we can save this template after we're done making all these deletions. We'll just save the template again, and that'll be fine. As long as we don't accidentally delete the whole entire MLB, we'll be just fine. Okay, that's gone. That's gone. And that's gone. Awesome. There we go. Do the two-team setup like you did last week. We just did that, actually. We just did a whole entire two-team setup and tried that. And that worked. Technically, that worked. MLB only. Testing ground. Will that fit? Yes. While that did work, we didn't really get a good feel for a lot of competition and what that would result in for those pitchers involved. So we're going to try to do it this way, where there's just the major leagues, and there's more variety of hitting. And then we'll do a base test, and then we'll do a final test as well. So I could change... Let's change some things. That's what I should have done. I should have changed the rules. That's what I should have done. I should change it back to 100 games only, and that'll speed it up a little bit. We can delete the American League. That'll speed it up a little bit too. So it'll just be the National League, which is just fine. That's okay. We really don't want to have the DH anyways involved, because that could be an element that actually messes up our whole entire simulation. Plus, when we run our baseline test, that's actually going to give us a really good standard for what John Lester does in a regular season if it's averaged out after so many attempts. So that's actually okay by itself. So let's go ahead. We're going to go into the league structure. We're going to delete the entire American League Subleague. Boom, gone. Go into here. We're going to go ahead and delete all of the free agents, because there's 3,000 of them in there. I think we have no rainouts, no injuries already turned on, but let me double check that just in case. I probably need to fire all staff as well. So it's just the players. Literally just the players playing. I forgot how much time it takes for 3,440 free agent players to get deleted. It does take a while. There we go. All right. So we need to go into here and say 100% accurate. If I just turn that off at this point, thank you very much. None displayed. Don't need to use the coaching system. No MLB goals, please. No storylines. No injuries. That's just fine. We need to go to the league settings and we need to say release all coaches and scouts. And then I need to erase all injuries and IL stats, fatigues, morales, and compensation types. No, that's fine right there. That's fine. I don't need that. And then I need to go to what else? So Rainouts. Double check Rainouts. Make sure Rainouts aren't enabled. Rainouts are not allowed. That looks just fine. We need to change this to 100. 100 games only. There we go. Half the games. And 60 less per team, so that's good. So we're not going to save as much information. We're not going to do a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to be just fine. Okay, hook for starters, default. Default. That seems to be just fine right about there. That looks all good. I want them to be able to stay in as long as they possibly can for starting pitchers. So that looks good. All right, so we have our baseline settings now for what we think is going to be a working simulation. So let's first of all go to strategies for each team. I do need to reset these. So hold on one second. We're going to reset all the strategies. We could run it with the strategies, but I feel like that might be a good idea just to reset that just in case. Reset that. Make everything base default. And then let's see what happens if we simulate this league just 20 times. Let's just do 10 times for the first time and see how fast that goes. Because if it's still going to be pretty slow, I'm going to have to do like filler or something during that period of time, which is going to be great. Improv Alex is not as good as planned Alex, unfortunately. Okay, so we have everything reset. There's no strategy involved. The players are all set. You've got 26-man rosters across the board. Let's go ahead and do a simulation module of this. We're going to do 10... I keep bumping my microphone. I'm not used to that. 10 seasons. We'll do it 10 times, see how fast it goes. That is still really slow. That is still really, really slow. And I don't know why it's so slow. I don't know why. You're on a solid state drive. You should be fine with this. Hold on. Let me see what I can do about this. Let's be 21. Let me see. So while we wait for this to go through, let me see what I can find out about this. Okay, I don't know why it's so slow, but I don't know. So we're going to take John Lester so I can figure it out and talk about it in my head. And so that'll be all of you guys can know what we're trying to do here now, at least. So we're going to try to see what happens when we take a pitcher who is average. We're going to try to see if we can get John Lester to show up on the list. That's going to be the hardest part, actually. So we may end up having to go to literally just the National League Central, which would be great. I don't even know if he would show up on that list, because you've got some pretty good pitchers in the National League Central as it is. But that might actually be a good test. That would at least be 4 other competitive teams, most with decent to really good hitting staffs. That would actually work, I think. I think that would work. I'm not sure, though. I'm not actually sure about that. Again, though, we're just trying to figure out whether or not John Lester with 2 pitches that are amazing or John Lester with 4 pitches that are all average would be better. Would it be better if John Lester went to 2 pitches for OOTP, not for real life, by the way? For real life, it would be much better for John Lester to make 7 pitches. just knowing how real life works. Variety is so much more important in real life than it is in OOTP. But how much more important? That is the question. So we're at 70%. Almost finished, finally. Get rid of those off my phone screen so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. 3/4 of the way done. Almost 80%. Now I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that could potentially get in the way of our simulation. I can't think of anything that would cause our simulation to go astray. I don't think there's anything else that would make it have an issue, but we could do less teams. When you start adding in variables like different divisions and then different schedules, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make sure that everything is even Steven. But at the same time, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so the Cubs go 46 and 46. I do not see Leicester on the list, though. Okay. And that's a no. Okay, so we do need to get rid of probably the National League West and the National League East and just do the Central at that point, which is kind of a bit of a bummer because I was hoping we could have more competition than less. But for now, let's just do the Central so we can see Leicester because he's the person that we really want to try this whole entire test on. Okay. So if I do a simulation, let's just do 1 for right now. How fast can you do 1? Okay, it's just slow regardless of how many times I do it. Which, I'm not sure why that's the case now. Is there a setting that I have turned on that's making it go slow like that? I might have to fix that later, unfortunately. Bummer. So there's no real difference in how fast it makes it. It's literally something with the computer on my end. So I'll have to get that fixed down the road. Bummer. Okay. All right. So we want to see what happens with Leicester's abilities when we change them. So once this is done doing the predictions, we will get that around. So now should be coming the Jeopardy music. So if the Jeopardy music can be played in the background of the recording of this one right here, that'd be lovely. All right, almost 50%. So it seems to be a little faster, but not that much faster. Not that much faster. Okay, so we want to take, just so I can word this out in my head, we're going to take John Lester, change him from a 4-pitch pitcher to a 2-pitch pitcher. And then we'll see about making him into a knuckleball pitcher, maybe. 1 knuckleball pitcher. And see how that goes. Old school turbo button. I wish. I actually probably should look at getting my system back to water cooling. Time to drop in that corporate sponsorship. I wish we had a corporate. I mean, we do have some people that we work with, but I don't think any of them are considered sponsors. I don't think we technically have any sponsors. I don't think we've ever done that before. All right, it's almost finished. All right. There we go. We're done. Okay. Oh, we didn't redo the schedules. That's why. Oh, dab nabbit. Ugh. This game is unforgiving sometimes, guys. Extremely unforgiving sometimes. All right, I also need to... This might pull me out of the window, so let me go... I'm just going to go back to window mode for right now. Of course, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that I didn't expect any situation in which we would need to be coming out of full screen mode, and we've had so many moments where I have to get out of full screen mode. It's been ridiculous. But I need to go to... Is it evaluation? Yeah, evaluation. So there's uneven amount of games because we have an uneven schedule. So we need to go to... What is it? 80? Games, I believe. 2-game series. That should allow it to be averaged out, I think. 64. What? It needs to be divisions of 8? No, that's not right. Why are there... Wait, what? Oh, I have a scratch pad, but I even then I'm always writing it down and then still thinking about it in my head and talking about it. Why is this schedule not working? Help me noodle through what's going on here. You're talking about 32 and 32, which means 64. So 80 games should work. You'd play 20 games against each team. Oh, it's because I have balanced schedule turned on or something? Hold on. I'm going to take those off for a second. Turn that on for a second. I don't know. Hold on. Why? Okay. I got to noodle through this real fast. Why is it not able to do 80 game schedules for a 5-team division? It should be able to do 40 games home, 40 games away, right? That math should work out correctly. Each team plays against everybody else 20, no. Yeah, everyone else gets played against 20 times. Right? I mean, I guess we could just do 64. As long as it doesn't go from 64 and then make it less. So if we do 64, like the actual 64, now it's 52. Oh my gosh, what is going on? What are you doing, game? I guess we'll go back to the 80 and just stick with the 64. Hold on, I'm just gonna clear it real fast. Okay. Is it because there's one team off every single week? Is that the problem? The science is definitely rebelling. It is not liking me right now. I think it's because there's a team that has to be off every single day, and it can't elongate the season out enough to be able to do 80. I think that's the problem. So what if we did instead 1 game scheduled season? Would that assist it? No, it doesn't. Well, you know what? We'll do 64 then. I don't care. We'll do 64. And let's go ahead and get a recording of John Lester really fast so we know what he looks like. We could also look at doing someone like Yu Darvish. That actually might be a better idea. What happens if you take Yu Darvish and make him a 2-pitch pitcher? Yeah, it's that odd team setup. That's right. Yeah, it's the odd team situation. We could delete the Pittsburgh Pirates really fast if you guys wanted to. And then all the Pittsburgh people in the chat are like, what? No, delete the Cubbies. Come on. But we could test Darvish out really fast because he's decent enough movement and control that I could conceivably see him be a person for us to try out. We could also do Quintana. Nobody cares about them. Ouch. Okay, no, we're going to try Hendricks. We're going to test it on Hendricks. So, unfortunately, I do need to do another baseline. Maybe the Marlins. We already deleted the entire American League East or the National League East and the National League West, actually. We've already deleted both of those. So, unfortunately, I do have to do 10. Okay, that's a bit faster. That's good enough. All right, so we're going to do 10 simulations. And we're going to see what Hendricks looks like. And we may end up doing Hendricks, Darvish, and Lester. We might turn Lester into the knuckleball pitcher. Darvish into the Leave Darvish alone? All right, fine. We'll leave Darvish alone. We'll turn Hendricks into the 2-pitch pitcher. And we'll let Darvish be our all the pitches pitcher. Like if you had like 7 pitches. So Hendricks is, for this season, he would be 5-5 with a 4.63 ERA. I'm running out of scratch paper room, guys. 89 innings pitched, 0.1. 99 hits given away. Only 19 walks. That's impressive. 64 strikeouts, which results in a 6.45 K per 9 innings. Okay, this is Hendricks. Lester's on the list. Nice. All right, so let's compare Lester. Lester had a 5-5 record, 4.24 ERA, an 80.2 innings pitched, 82 hits given up, or hits allowed. Technically, it's hits allowed. What else do you have? 25 walks and 57 strikeouts for a 6.36 K per 9 innings. So both of those pitchers are very close. Lester had 12 games started. Hendricks had 14, though. All right, let's do Hendricks first. Now that we're finally ready to do some testing, let's do it. So, what we're thinking is, if we took away the curveball and the changeup, or took away the fastball and the sinker, it might be better to take away the fastball and the sinker, or even the fastball and the changeup, and make it all go into sinker and curveball. Let's do that instead. So we're gonna put 137 into the sinker and the curveball. Yeah. So that'll come out to 274. That's too much. So let's just max them. So if Hendricks suddenly realized that his fastball and his changeup were holding him back, right? 134 plus 134 equals 178. No, 168. No, 268. 268, right? I am not mathing correctly right now. Can I do 268? I don't think that's going to make any change. I don't think it'll even register it as 268, but we'll see. It kind of can. Okay, never mind. We can do that. All right, so if we had Hendricks changed to this, ladies and gentlemen, would you start him? I can't math. Science is rebelling. The game is just throwing me all the temper tantrums it can. But again, guys, would you start Hendricks here? He's not that bad. I mean, it is science. I mean, come on. It's science. We have to break some stuff. It has to happen this way. So let's go ahead and do a simulation module. I can only do 10 because that's about as much as it takes before we start running into some real long simulations. Oh, there's a stream. All right, so let's do that and see what that looks like. I think his movement is holding his sinker back. Yeah. Yeah, I really do believe that... I do think that movement's going to hold his sinker back, unfortunately. So, gotta see what that will do. Okay, 70%. 100 stuff with no fastball. That's correct. He's an 87 to 89 mile per hour ground ball pitcher, sinker to curveball. And he's got a amazing curveball. Not much of a sinker, unfortunately. So that's interesting. And Hendricks becomes much better. Like, a lot better. Okay, so Hendricks goes from... So his record doesn't change. He still ends up being 5-5. He has 13 games started in this simulation instead of 14. But instead of going only 89 innings, he goes 92. So that's about the same. But the ERA drops from 4.63 to 3.31. The walks go from 19 to 20. The strikeouts go from 64 to 116. And the K per 9 innings goes from 6.45 to 11.31. So take that as you will, but I mean, we did blow out his stuff pretty much. That stuff is ridiculous, but at the same time, that's a pretty good sign that Hendricks would be much better as a 2-pitch pitcher with a really good stuff than he would be as a 4-pitch pitcher as he is in real life. So that's a pretty good example there. Let's do Lester, guys. Let's do Lester as well. Let's switch Lester around and see if that makes the Cubbies any better. Notice, however, that didn't really make the Cubbies fare any better during the regular season. So it didn't result in more wins, but it resulted in better pitching performance from Lester. So that's interesting. So if we took away everything, from Hendricks, if we took away everything and just did that, we're going to give Lester everything he ever wanted, except for holding runners. All right, here's our fun test, guys. Here's our fun test. What happens when John Lester starts for the Cubbies as a knuckleball-only pitcher? That is going to be the question now. That is an amazing profile page right there, guys. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see what happens. I want to see if he actually does well at all with this result right here. So I think our results for the other test, which was Hendricks going from a 4-pitch pitcher who had, what did he have? Curveball, sinker, fastball, changeup, I believe. So he had good 4 pitches. Well, they weren't good. They were average. But when he went to using 2 pitches with their maximized stuff, so that, again, take with a grain of salt, that was if they had, like, the best pitches possible. He did so much better than having 4 pitches. So we're going to see now what happens if Lester... it works. Okay. So... Yes, that's interesting. So again, Hendricks continues to have the amazing strikeout rate when he has better 2 pitches than average 4 pitches. The ERA gets better. The walks are about the same, so that control doesn't really affect it that much. So we know that the only thing that stuff does is it basically just changes how dominant you are of a starting pitcher. And technically, as long as you're dominant enough, I think this is going to be our result is skepticism, but kind of proven skepticism, that if your starting pitcher only has 2 pitches, but those 2 pitches are ultimately dominant, it can overpower the lack of a 3rd pitch. It can. Now, I don't think that when you're going up against people in a perfect league situation, if you're doing perfect team and you're trying to do this, I would highly advise you not to put a relief pitcher in your starting rotation because they don't have the stamina to do it regardless. And even if you had a starting pitcher who only had 2 pitches but had a lot of stamina, I don't think you'd be able to outpitch the amazing hitting that you're going to be seeing in a perfect team. So I think our results are pretty conclusive that if you're playing single-player OOTP and you see a draft person who has 2 lights-out pitches that are, absolutely almost close, if not at the maximum for their potential, and they hit those potentials, and they have enough stamina where you could actually feasibly do it, give them a shot, because they may actually do better. They may do better than letting your number 5 pitcher pitch. Unless your number 5 pitcher is really good. So I think that's our conclusion was that basically if you had to go between Tyler Mahle with 3 good pitches and Hendricks with only 2, I would take Hendricks over Mahle right now. Mostly because the innings pitched goes up a little bit. The ERA goes down a little bit. The performance of Hendricks was just really, really good. It was just really, really good. And then, of course, now we have our test of Lester. So, we'll finish up on our Lester test. So, Lester was at the bottom of the list the last time we did a simulation. And this time, he's second. As our cat decides to make some noise now. Yes. Yes, Rosie, we see you. All right. You could use them as a follower. Yes, that's a great idea, Coach. That's a great idea. You could use them as followers. That would be probably the best usage of them. It wouldn't stress them out too much. It would allow you to get the best of their abilities without really forcing them to have to do too much. So Lester ends up going 6-5. Yes, the cat wants to be in the science too, unfortunately. We can test on her later. So Lester ends up going down to a 3.43 ERA, 105 innings pitched, 107 hits allowed, which is way more than he had before. But the walks, 5 walks. He had 25 the first time, and the strikeouts are the same. So basically the walks went way down, which I don't even know. Well, that's probably because the control was up. Because the control was up. But that's amazing, even to think that a one-pitch pitcher would be okay to throw as long as they have everything maxed out, okay? So that's your only limitation. Your only limitation is that, in fact, we'll do one more. One more test. And then we'll end here. If he only had 170. No, not 1,000. If he only had 170 movement and 170 control, how awful would he be instead? If he only had that, how awful would Lester be as a starting pitcher? That'll be the question now. Does he go down a lot because that control goes so far down? And again, I highly doubt any of you guys are going to find a 100 knuckleball pitcher with this kind of control, movement, and stuff, with this kind of stamina. But at the same time, if you guys ever do, please shoot me a screenshot, because I'd be more than happy to see that. Personally, I'd be more than happy to see that. All right, so we're almost done here. 65% done. We'll take a look at this, see how it goes, and then we will call the stream for the day. It's been almost 2 hours. We've had a lot of cool stuff done today. I've been very happy about that. A little more frustration trying to get this one set up, unfortunately. I got to figure out how to make these predictions go faster, too. But we can definitely look into that. So Lester drops off the table. Oh, no, he's still there. He is right in the middle. So the walks go up, but the innings pitched and the ERA still remains the same because that knuckleball is just so hard to hit. The strikeouts aren't going to go anywhere, but this is pretty much the same result that Lester got out of 12 starts when he had all of his pitches. So I really don't feel like as if he lost anything for losing all of his pitches, but gaining a immaculate knuckleball. And a little bit of control and movement as well. Technically, he did get a little control and movement to back it up. But if you have enough of other areas for a starting pitcher, and they still don't have 3 pitches, I think our skeptical theory and conclusion is that, yes, if you have enough stuff, movement, control, and quality of the 2 or less pitches for that starting pitcher, the person who has all the stamina, if they can counter with enough of everything else, you can make up for that lack of a third pitch. You can. But, exactly, and Hendricks has a huge K per 9 innings ratio change. Going from 4 pitches to 2 and having those 2 pitches enhanced was so much better for him. He's so much more dominant with 2 amazing pitches and no third pitch versus having 4 pitches and only having 2 of them be decent. So I think that's going to be our takeaway for the afternoon guys. If you can find somebody like this, give them a shot, because they might actually be better than your number 4 or number 5 starting pitcher, which is saying a lot for some people. That is actually saying a lot. That means that for like in regards to the Riches Reds stream, we have that would be Francisco Romero. He does not have a third pitch yet, technically. But if you use them correctly and they have enough of everything else, they can counteract that missing third pitch or lack of a third pitch or lack of a quality third pitch, and they will be just fine. So, give it a shot on your own, guys. Use your own time to do your own sciences on this game. See what you can come up with. Send me screenshots if you ever find somebody who actually does this kind of a situation. And, yeah, that'll be where we end the stream for the evening, guys. I hope you guys had a fun time being able to try to deep dive into a little more about the pitchers and kind of where you can go with them and what you can pull out of pitchers. There's only 2 pitches or less. We'll hopefully do more of stuff like this down the road as well. I'll be looking for more topics to cover and stuff to work on. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that will be the end of our stream for this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching, and have you guys a rest of your afternoons, and I hope that they go well.